Hi everybody, this is lesson 1 homework. We skipped module 6 lesson 1 problem set because it involved surveying the class, which we can't do, so we just went straight to the homework. So if you haven't done that yet, make sure you do that. I posted it on the Class Dojo story last Friday, I believe. So to get that done and then go over this video. All right, the tally chart below shows a survey of students' favorite pets. Each tally mark represents one student. So whenever you're making your own chart, you always put the title at the top. So the title's favorite pets. And they use tally marks for each person. Cats. Whenever you get to 5, you always draw a line through it. And you could also do a line diagonally like this too, but they went straight through it. So this is automatically 5. They bundled it to make it easier to count instead of just individually going by 1. So this is 5 and 1, which makes 6. So 6 people voted for cats. This hasn't gotten to a little slash line yet. So this is 1 less than 5. So this is 4. So turtles, 4 people voted for turtles. Fish, there's only 2 marks, so it's 2 people. Dogs, here's 5 because it has a little slash mark through it. 5, 6, 7, 8. Lizards, there's 2 people. And it's super important to make sure that you know that each one represents one student. So always, like, if there's a key or a sentence that tells you what each one's representing, because sometimes the tally marks or whatever it is could be a picture, could be worth more than 1. So the chart shows a total of how many students. So they're asking for how many in all. So I've got 6, 4, 2, 8, and 2. And on the last video, I talked to you about like grouping numbers to 10 to make it easier to add together. So when I look at these numbers, I see 2 and 8, and 2 and 8 together make 10. And I see 6 and 4, and 6 and 4 together make 10. 10s are super easy to add by, so that's why I'm trying to get to 10. And then I have 2. So 10 plus 10 plus 2 is super simple to do in my head. 10 and 10 make a sum of 20, and 20 and 2 make a sum of 22. So there's 22 students. You didn't have to add it like I did. You could have gone straight down 6 plus 4 plus 2 plus 8 plus 2. But I'm just trying to make it easier to mentally add. So there's 22 students that they surveyed. All right, now they're using that same data to put it into a picture graph. And it says, like I said, to look at the key first. Each circle represents one student. They did the first one for you. There were 6 cats. So they drew 6 circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 going vertically. It's really important you try to make your circles the same size. You don't want, like when you have 4 turtles, you don't want your turtle circles to go above your cat circles because then it looks like there was more turtles than cats. So you want to make them look equal, somewhat equal. So 4 turtles. I'm going to go ahead and write how many each one had. So 4 turtles. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you see how like my circles are similar size to this? All right. Fish, 2. Dogs, 8. Lizards, 2. All right. The same number of students picked blank and blank as their favorite pet. You're supposed to be able to just look at your picture graph, even if you didn't have the numbers, and be able to tell. We obviously know that these 2 numbers are the same. But if you didn't have those numbers, you can look at your picture graph and see how they line up exactly. So the fish and the lizards line up exactly, so that must be the same. All right. How many students picked dogs as their favorite pet? Well, again, we've already figured that out up here. There are 8 people who picked dogs, but if you didn't have that number, you can just count your circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many more? We always talk about how many more always means you're going to subtract something. How many more students chose cats than turtles as their favorite pets? So cats, there were six circles. How many turtles were there? 4. So how many more always means you're going to subtract something every single time. So 6 minus 4 gives you a difference of 2. There were 2 more people who picked cats than picked turtles. So the front page was pretty simple. Think back to intervention. I know it's been a while when we worked on making some graphs, and I gave you a key where each one did not represent 1. Like on the front, every single one was represented by 1. This time, each square is represented by 2. So I'm going to write my numbers again. I have 6, 4, 2, 8, 2. So this time, I'm not going to have 6 circles like I did on the front because each square is representing 2. It's not representing 1. So like if you want to, when you draw your circles out, you can write the number 2 there and just skip count by 2s. So I'm trying to get to 6. So the first square is 2. The second square would be 4. And the third square would be 6. So it takes 3 squares to give me 6. Again, if you want to write the 2 in there, so it makes more sense to you, these are not going by 1 anymore. All right, how many squares am I going to need for turtles if only 4 people voted for it? 2, 2, 4. Again, like whenever you're drawing it out, you want to make sure that your squares look similar. You don't want these to be huge and this to be small. You want them to look evenly spaced and equal size. Fish. There were only 2 people total who voted for fish, so I only need 1 square. Dogs. A lot of dog fans, so there are 8 people for dogs. 2, 4, 6, 8. So I needed 4 for the dogs. Lizards, just like fish, there were only 2 people total, so I only need 1 box. The first question, super simple. What does each square represent? It tells you right here in the key. Each square represents two students. So it's really important when you have a graph to always look for the key, because a lot of times it's not going to go by 1. If you have a lot of people or whatever it is that you're surveying or you're putting in your data, you're not always going to go by 1. So you got to look at what it's representing. I think in class we went by 5s a lot. How many students does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares represent? Write a number sentence to show how you know. Well, again, you can write the 2s in the squares if that makes more sense. So we have 5 squares. So that's 5. And each one's worth 2. So that's 5 times 2, and that gives us a product of 10. So if there were 5 squares, that would have been 10 students. And you could have done 2 times 5 equals 10. Commutative property, doesn't matter the order. All right. How many more? There's our clue. How many more squares did you draw for dogs than for fish? So this one didn't ask how many more people voted for dogs than for fish. This one said, how many more squares did you draw for dogs than for fish? So let me look at the dogs. There were 4 squares for dogs. There was 1 square for fish. So that one was kind of tricky because you could have done 8 minus 2 and got 6 if you read the question wrong. But it asked for how many squares, not how many more people voted for it. Write a number sentence. I already did. 4 minus 1 to show how many more students chose dogs than fish. 4 minus 1 is 3. And that's it for lesson 1 homework module 6.